Edgar Allan Poe was born in Boston, Massachusetts in 1809. He was abandoned by his father when he was a baby, and his mother died when he was not yet 3. He was taken as a foster child to the home of John Allan, a Virginia tobacco merchant whose business took him to England, where Poe received his first education. Returning to Virginia, Poe continued his education at the University of Virginia. Having fought with Mr. Allen over his gambling debts, Poe left the university and traveled to Boston, where at his own expense he published his first book. He served in the army under a false name but made a poor soldier. Poe went to West Point but was court-martialed. He went to Baltimore to live with his aunt, Mrs. Mariah Clemens. He would marry her daughter, his own cousin, Mrs. Clemens. He stayed with years of success at jail John Allen, murder in the Room plus he would marry his daughter. Slapping into a rebel who was fashion. He influenced drug addicts. He began some cousins simultaneously to write the same love letters. Just to get married once, who stopped dying in Baltimore Street about Paul failure in most areas of his social life. He was 4 years old when his dad was so sad. Often writing on the same love letters. Before marrying one, he started dying.
She began courting several women simultaneously, often writing on the same love letters. She married one who stopped dying in a Baltimore Street of alcohol. Failure in most areas of his personal life. He was 4 years old when Edgar Allan Poe died.
Writing on the same love letters. In 1847, marrying one who was found dying in a Baltimore Street of alcohol poisoning. Failure in most areas of his personal life. He was 40 years old when Edgar Allan Poe died.
He began courting several women simultaneously, often writing on the same love letters. Just before marrying one, he was found dying in Baltimore Street from alcohol poisoning. A failure in most areas of his personal life. He was 40 years old when Edgar Allan Poe died.
You think I don't know what you see when you look at me?
Much of madness.
And more of sin.
And horror.
Whiskey and opium written on my face like my words are written on linen parchment. Ravages of a wasted life. I was not always like this. I was once a fine Southern gentleman. As a child, I was raised to be
educated,
Polite.
refined.
Video.
No, I was not always like this. In fact, I was not always Edgar Allan Poe. At the time of my birth, I was just plain Edgar Poe. The Allan was an unwanted addition that came later in life.
Once
upon a midnight.
Once upon a midnight dreary, chilling and killing.
The hero, the conqueror worm.
Much of madness. And more of sin.
And horror, the soul.
The soul of the flesh.
Chilling and killing.
Chilling and killing.
Chilling and
For
killing.
the love of God, Montresor!
Stop!
Stop!
Stop the beating of his hideous old heart!
Stop! From childhood's hour, I have not been as others were. Could not see as others saw. The dawn of a most stormy life was drawn from the depth of every good and ill. A mystery which binds me still.
Binds me still.
My parents, David and Eliza Poe, were performers at the Federal Street Theater in Boston. And you'd think they had as much chance at happiness as anyone, yet they were people who
unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster.
Shortly before my 3rd birthday, my father packed up and disappeared. December 8th of that same year, my darling mother had the poor grace to die, leave me all alone in the world before I was even 3. I do her an injustice here. I was not totally abandoned.
John, we cannot stand by and do nothing.
The son of an actress. He may as well be the son of a prostitute.
We have a Christian duty.
Have it your way then, but he'll be raised as a gentleman, expected to conduct himself as one. By heavens, he will regret the day.
My salvation came in the unlikely person of a wealthy Richmond merchant named John Allan, who took me into his home on his wife's request. A decent enough woman, trying hard to get into heaven. Mr. Allen was a fine Virginia gentleman dealing in
Tobacco.
cloth, wheat.
Tombstones.
Slaves.
The redoubtable Mr. Allen wanted everyone to know his good deed, so he inserted his surname between mine, making me Edgar Allan. But heaven forbid that anyone should think there was any blood between himself and an actor's son. So I became Edgar Allan Poe. I suppose he was trying to do what good his limited imagination would allow, but what I longed for was a father.
Never call me that. I'm not your father.
But
You have to beat it into your mind.
no,
No.
no, sir.
Now be gone. Leave me in peace. I have work to attend to.
Yes, father.
Let's be
Mr.
gone,
Allen.
boy. If I get my razor sharp.
John, please.
The boy possesses not a spark of affection for us, not a particle of gratitude for all my care and kindness towards him.
I love the old man. He never wronged me. Never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. Yet there was that in him which made me
Nervous. Very, very dreadfully nervous I have been and am. But why will he say that I am mad?
The telltale heart.
The disease sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all, the sense of hearing was acute. I heard all things in heaven and earth, and many a thing in hell. How then am I mad?
Edgar.
Listen, and observe how calmly, how healthily I tell you the story. I love the old man. He had never wronged me, never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, pale blue and covered with a film. Edgar! When it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. So I made up my mind by degrees to take his life.
Edgar!
Yes?
Oh, Edgar, my friend. Oh, thank goodness you've come.
Well, of course I've come. I always come when you need me.
It's past time for my laudanum. Would you fetch it for me?
Oh, of course.
Oh, how kind of you, Edgar. What would I do without you?
I was never kinder to the old man than before the whole week before I killed him. And every night, around midnight, I would turn the latch to his door and open it, ever so gently. When I made an opening sufficient for my head, I put my lantern all close so that no light shone out, and then I thrust in my head! You would have laughed to see how cunningly I did it. Slowly, oh so slowly, so as to not disturb the old man as he slept. It took me an hour to put my head in far enough to see the bed. Would a madman have been as wise as this? And then cautiously, very, very cautiously, I opened the lamp, so that a single ray fell on the vulture eye. It was always closed, so that I found it possible to do my work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And in the morning, I would call on him, and speak to him in hearty tones, inquiring how he passed the night.
Oh, good morning, Edgar. Have you come again?
Well, of course I've come again, Sir John, and I shall continue to come for as long as I am welcome.
Oh, then you shall continue to come for as long as I'm alive. It's not everyone that would take time for an old invalid.
So tell me, how did you pass the night?
Oh, tolerably well, tolerably well. Slept like a child.
Well, I am glad to hear it. For I had the most curious dream last night.
A dream?
Yes, and you were in it.
Oh, don't keep me in suspense, man. Tell on.
I dreamt that last night near midnight a stranger crept into your room.
To do what?
Well, I don't know. In the dream, the stranger is cloaked in shadow, holding a lantern, watching you as you slept.
How odd. What were the stranger's intentions?
Oh, I never learned. The dream always ended.
This is all too unnerving, Edgar. Let's speak of other things.
Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious. A watch's hand moves more quickly than did mine. I had my head in. I was about to open the lantern, but my thumb slipped on the fastening.
Who's there?
For an hour, I did not move a muscle, nor did I hear him lie down. He was sitting up in bed, listening. Presently, I heard a slight groan. I knew it was a groan of mortal terror. His fears had been growing on him, and he had been trying to think them costless. He had been saying to himself,
It's nothing but the wind in the chimney.
And?
It's just a mouse crossing the floor.
Or?
It's merely a cricket that's made a single chirp.
He'd been trying to comfort himself all in vain because death was approaching him. I had waited very patiently a long time, so I resolved to open a slight crevice in the lantern. I can't imagine how stealthily I did it, until a single dim ray, like the thread of a spider, fell on the vulture eye. It was open wide open as I gazed on it, all a dull blue with a hideous veil that chilled me to the bone. Now there came to my ears a low, dull sound, such as a watch makes when wrapped in cotton. I knew that sound too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It grew louder, louder, I tell you, louder, until a new anxiety seized me. The sound be heard by a neighbor. With a loud yell, I leaped into the room. The old man shrieked once, only once. In an instant, I had dragged him to the floor, and I threw the heavy bed on top of him. For many minutes, his heart continued to beat with a muffled sound. But at length it stopped. The old man was stone dead. If you still think me mad, consider the wise precautions I took in concealing the body. First, I took up 3 planks in the flooring of the chamber. Then, I dismembered the body and deposited it all within. Finally, I replaced the boards so cunningly so that no human eye, not even his, could detect it. As I finished my labors, there came a knock at the front door. With a light heart, I answered it, for I had nothing to fear. Yes?
Sorry to disturb you, sir. I'm Inspector Spencer, and this is Police Constable Saxon and Mrs. Davies.
Oh, is there any trouble?
We hope not, sir. A shriek has been heard by Mrs. Davies during the night. There was a suspicion of foul play, so she lodged information with our office.
They've been dispatched to search the premises.
Of course. The shriek you heard was my own. I'm rather prone to nightmares.
Is this your house, sir?
No, indeed. This is the residence of Sir John Montgomery.
And you are?
A friend of Sir John's who assists him. I'm afraid he's rather advanced in years.
Is Sir John in the house?
No, Inspector. He's absent in the country.
I hope that we're not disturbing.
Well, of course not. Be welcome.
You realize they'll have to search the premises.
Well, certainly. Please search well. You'll find all of his treasures secure and undisturbed.
Thank you, sir.
Apologies for the inconvenience, sir.
Not at all. I led them at length to his chamber. I brought in chairs and bade them rest here. In my wild audacity, I placed my own chair over the very spot where reposed my victim. The officers were satisfied. They sat and chatted about familiar things, but before long I felt myself growing pale and wished they would leave. My head ached. I fancied I heard a ringing in my ears, but the officers did not hear it. The ringing grew more distinct, and I talked more freely to rid myself of the feeling until, at length, I became aware the sound was not within my ears. The sound increased. It was a low, dull sound such as a watch makes when wrapped in cotton. The sound increased, but the officers did not hear it. I rose to my feet and I argued about trifles. Would they never leave? And even more the sound increased. I paced to and fro with heavy strides, gesticulating wildly. Would they not be gone? Oh Lord, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore, and still the sound grew louder, louder, louder! At last, I could take no more. Villains, dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here! Here! Stop the beating of his hideous old heart!
Year of our Lord, 1809 was a very auspicious year for humanity. You have any idea what great minds were born into the world that year? Their names may not be unfamiliar to you.
Abraham Lincoln.
Elizabeth Browning.
Charles Darwin.
Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Oliver Wendell Holmes.
Born to illuminate the world.
And Edgar Allan Poe.
I was not born to illuminate the world. Mine was another path. In retrospect, my life seems like a pendulum swing between success and failure. Would you care to hear it? Sad tale of Edgar Allan Poe.
Orphaned.
And adopted by a monster.
1815. The Allens moved to England on business. Poe enters Manor House School, where at the age of 6, he quickly becomes adept at both French and Latin. Gothic architecture and historic landscapes make a deep impression.
June 1820, the Allan family leaves England and returns to Richmond. Poe enters the classic school of Joseph H. Clark. He is a poor student, but does distinguish himself as the best reader of Latin verse, joins the Thespian Society, engages in prominent debate, and writes a book of verse to the girls of Richmond.
1824, Poe becomes a lieutenant in the Richmond Junior Volunteers and acts as a bodyguard to Marquis de Lafayette.
February 14, 1826, enters the University of Virginia where he takes top honors in Latin and French, but is reviled by the school's governors for spending the bulk of his time drinking and gambling.
June 1826, fights a duel with a former roommate and is expelled due to $2,000 gambling debts.
May 26, 1827, Poe enlists in the army under the name Edgar A. Perry to escape debtor's prison. While serving, his first volume of poetry is published and is a dismal failure.
February 28, 1829, Poe's foster mother died.
Oh, April 15, 1829, Allan obtains discharge for Poe. Later that same year, his second unsuccessful book is published.
July 1st, 1830, Allan obtains admittance for Poe at West Point.
Poe proves to be a poor soldier and is court-martialed.
Reviled by the school's governors for spending the bulk of his time drinking and gambling.
Expelled due to $2,000 gambling debt.
Poetry is a dismal failure.
Poe's foster mother died.
Unsuccessful.
Stop! You're burying me alive.
There are certain themes of which the interest is all absorbing, but which are entirely too horrible for legitimate fiction. To be buried while alive is the most terrific of these extremes to have ever fallen to the lot of mere mortality. That it has frequently, very frequently so fallen can scarcely be denied. One of these very remarkable circumstances may be fresh in your memories. It occurred not very long ago in the neighboring city of Baltimore. The wife of one of the more respectable citizens was seized with a sudden and unaccountable illness. She presented with all of the ordinary appearances of death, and so the lady was deposited in her family tomb within 2 days of her death.
Hello? Is there anyone there? Hello? Where am I?
Thus she remained, and thus she rotted. And in the year 1810, a case of living inhumation happened in France. The heroine of our story was...
Messieurs and Mademoiselle, may I present Mademoiselle
L'avocat.
A young woman of illustrious family. Well,
of great personal beauty.
Merci. Among her numerous suitors was Julien Bousset, a journalist of Paris. His talent and general amiability had recommended him to the notice of the heiress, by whom he seemed to be truly beloved. But her pride of birth caused her to reject him, and to wed Monsieur Renel, a banker and a diplomat of some eminence. After marriage, this gentleman neglected, and what is worse, ill-treated her, until after having passed some wretched years with him, she died. Or so is believed. Filled with despair, Julien journeyed to the grave, with the romantic purpose of disinterring the corpse and possessing himself of her luxuriant tresses. At midnight, he unearths the coffin, opens it, and is arrested by the unclosing of the beloved's eyes. In fact, the lady had been buried alive.
Oh,
The lady's heart was not made of stone, and upon recognizing her rescuer, she fled with him to America, and returned no more to her husband. All of this recalls to memory the well-known and extraordinary case which occurred in London in 1831, which caused a profound sensation when a patient was revived, when a galvanized battery was applied to his heart.
The patient is a Mr. Edward Stapleton, deceased 2 days. What is the cause of death?
Typhus.
Cause of death, typhus. We have opened an incision of some extent in his abdomen and have applied the galvanized battery.
The patient appears lifelike and undecayed, and there is a more than usually lifelike convulsive activity with the application of the battery.
It's getting late. In the best interest of time, let's proceed directly to the dissection.
Before you start,
Yes?
there's an experiment I've been considering I'd like to try.
All right, go ahead, but please hurry. Dinner's waiting for me.
First, I will gash the pectoral muscle, connect a wire to the heart, and finally I will connect the galvanized battery and...
I have mercy! I'm alive! I'm still alive!
It is an easy matter to multiply such histories as these. But what I have now to tell is of my own actual knowledge. For several years, I have been subject to attacks of the singular disorder which physicians have agreed to term catalepsy, for want of a better title. Once having fallen into the trance-like clutches of the disease, the most rigorous medical tests failed to establish any distinction between the estate of the sufferer and absolute death. The state can last for weeks, even months. Due to this malady, I became obsessed with death. I talked of worms, or tombs and epitaphs. I was lost in reveries of death and premature burial. When I sank into slumber, it was only to rush at once into a world of phantasms. From the innumerable images which oppressed me in dreams, I select for record but one solitary vision. I was immersed in a cataleptic trance of more than usual duration, when there came an icy hand upon my forehead, and an icy voice commanded,
Arise.
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 I have no name in the region which I inhabit.
I was mortal,
But am fiend.
I was merciless.
but am pitiful.
That dost feel that I shudder?
My teeth chatter as I
But
speak.
it is not with the chilliness of the night.
Of this night without end. Get thee up!
Come with me into the outer night.
And let me enfold to thee the grave.
Is not this a spectre of woe?
Behold!
I looked and saw thrown open the graves of all mankind. From each there issued the faint radiance of decay, so that I was able to look within and see the shrouded bodies in their sad, solemn slumber. But alas, the real sleepers were fewer by many millions than those that slumbered not at all. From countless pits there arose the melancholy rustling of the garments of the buried.
Is
it not?
Oh, is it not a pitiful sight?
Jane! What's wrong? Another nightmare.
Swear to me.
What?
Swear you'll never bury me alive.
For goodness sake!
Swear you'll be certain that I'm dead. Dead, 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 and rotting before you put me in the ground.
I swear. We have even gone so far as to enter into a series of elaborate precautions. The family vault has been remodeled so as to be readily opened from within. Slightest pressure upon a long lever that extends far into the tomb will cause the iron portals to fly back. There are arrangements for the free admission of air and light and convenient receptacles for food and water.
And the coffin is warmly and softly padded.
And provided with a lid so contrived that the feeblest movement from you is sufficient to set it at liberty. Besides all this, there hangs from the roof of the tomb a large bell, the rope of which descends through the coffin to be attached to your wrist.
But alas, what avails vigilance against the destiny of man? Not even these well-contrived securities suffice to save from uttermost agonies of living inhumation. There arrived a time when I found myself emerging from total unconsciousness into the first feeble and indefinite sense of existence. I am aware that I am not awaking from an ordinary sleep. I recollect that I have been subject to catalepsy. I could not summon the courage to move. My shuddering spirit was being overwhelmed by danger. Despair alone urged me after long irresolution to lift up my heavy eyelids. It was dark. All dark. I endeavored to shriek. I could not. Hardwood not 6 inches from my face, yes! I repose within a coffin. Open! Open! I cannot find the lever. The bell rope, where is it? Nothing. This coffin has been packed. I smell the moist earth. No! I am not within the family vault. I have fallen into a trance while absent from home. They have buried me like a dog. Nailed up in some common coffin. Thrust deep into the earth in some ordinary and nameless grave. Ah!
Hello, hello there. What the matter? Get off that.
What do you mean by howling in that kind of style?
I am buried alive!
Nothing of the sort. You're on our sloop in the James River.
You trapped me in this coffin!
No, no. 'Tis only a buck. Without any betting of any sort, true, but a buck bet all the same.
Why am I here?
Do you not recall? You and a friend were caught in last night's storm and asked for shelter aboard ship.
And the smell of the earth?
Just our load of garden mulch.
Then I'm...
Alive, miss. Safe and sound.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Not at all, miss.
Out of evil proceeded good. After these vents, my soul acquired tone, acquired temper. I traveled abroad. I took vigorous exercise. I breathed the free air of heaven. I thought about other subjects than death. I dwelt no more on churchyards and bugaboo tales. I dismissed forever my charnel apprehensions, and with them vanished the cataleptic disorder, of which, perhaps, they had been less the consequence than the cause.
Premature burial. Did you ever read my poems? Read my stories? Do you, like so many others, question if I could even love as other men love? The answer is no. I have loved more deeply. To me, women were always angels of mercy, tenderly bringing me back from the brink of ruin, while men stood aloof and mocked.
My sweet boy,
Mother?
I doubt you'll even remember.
I remember, Mother.
You're so young. I'm so sorry, so very sorry to leave you like this.
Don't go, Mama.
I hope you remember I love you.
I remember, Mama.
If you do remember me, I wonder what it will be.
Your pretty face.
Edgar,
So beautiful. So pale.
my Edgar.
Red stain of your lips. She never came out on stage, but when a murmur went through the house. What an enchanting creature. Nothing could be half so sweet.
Penny?
Mrs. Allen!
Now you must stop that. Can you not think of me as your own sweet mother?
Mr. Allen forbids it.
He just wants what's best for you.
I believe that's true of you, Mother.
Someday we'll both come to think of you as our son.
We'll make you proud, Mother.
I know you.
Edgar,
Miss Jane, I wrote this for you.
another poem.
It's for you.
I'm sure I'll treasure it as I have the others, but you must stop this fancy,
I
Edgar.
won't.
You must. It's not proper.
How not?
You're 15 years old, Edgar.
So?
I'm old enough to be your mother.
So?
And I have a husband.
I wager I love you more than he does.
Oh, Edgar. I'm sorry.
It was brain cancer. Took my darling Jane. First woman I ever dared do a dog. My mother. My foster mother. Consumption took them. Tuberculosis.
Mask of the Red Death.
Poor Annie. The Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. Blood was its avatar and its seal. The redness and horror of sharp pains, and the sudden dizziness, and then profuse bleeding at the pores with disillusion. The scarlet stains on the body, and especially the face of the victim, were the pest ban which shut him out of the aid and sympathy of his fellow man.
Be careful. Crisis, danger is past. But the lingering illness is only past. This fever called living is conquered at last. Sadly, I know I am short of my strength. And no muscle I move as I lie at full length. No matter. I feel I am dying.
And I rest so composed now in my bed, that any beholder might fancy me dead, and started beholding me thinking me dead. The moaning and groaning, sighing and sobbing, quieted now, that horrible throbbing.
The sickness, the nausea, the pitiless pain have ceased with the fever that maddened my brain, with the fever called living that burned in my brain.
And oh, of all tortures, that torture the worst has abated, that terrible torture of thirst. For the naphthaline river of passions accursed, I have drunk of a water that quenches all thirst.
Of a water that flows with a lullaby sound, from a spring with a very few feet on the ground, from a cavern not very far down under the ground.
And ah, let it never be foolishly said that my room it is gloomy and narrow, my bed. For a man never slept in a different bed, and to sleep you must slumber in just such a bed.
My tantalized spirit here blandly reposes, forgetting or never regretting its roses, its old agitations of myrtles and roses.
1811. I was nearly 3 years old when my mother died. 1829. I was 20 years old when the woman I learned to call mother died. It's a cruel trick that nature sometimes plays, and we must watch our parents fade away until they disappear altogether. I had to watch my mother disappear twice.
She tenderly kissed me, she fondly caressed, and then I fell gently to sleep on her breast, deeply to sleep from the heaven of her breast.
When the light was extinguished, she covered me warm, and prayed to the angels to keep me from harm, to the Queen of the angels to shield me from harm.
I rest so composedly now in my bed, knowing her love that you fancy me dead. And I lie so contentedly now in my bed, with her love at my breast, that you fancy me dead, and you shudder to look at me thinking me dead.
And now is acknowledged the presence of the Red Death! He has come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revelers in the blood-bedewed halls of their revels, and died each to the despairing posture of his fall. And the life of the clock went out, and the flames in the tripods expired, and darkness, and decay, and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all.
After the death of my foster mother, I never had contact with Mr. John Allen again. I was obliged to go to Baltimore, throw myself on the mercy of my father's sister, Mrs. Mariah Clem.
Welcome home, Edgar. Now, I want you to think of this as your home now and forever. Everything I have is yours.
Everything indeed. She had a daughter named Virginia.
Hello, Eddie.
Only 8 years old when I came to Baltimore, but after I'd been there a number of years, I grew very fond of her. More than fond, in fact.
Mother, we intend to marry.
No, Edgar.
Why, Auntie, why?
She is your first cousin, your dear father's only niece.
But I love him, Mother.
Edgar, she is a child.
Only 13.
No, 12.
They lie on the marriage
They
license.
say she's 21.
They want to avoid scandal.
They fail.
Shocking. Disgraceful.
Outrageous!
Madness. Sin. Horror.
Shame.
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 Don't listen to them, Eddie.
I try not to.
I'm glad.
Virginia, you don't think it's wrong, do you?
That depends.
On what?
Who's Helen?
Who?
And Annie?
What?
And Irene?
Irene?
I've been reading your poetry.
Oh, no!
There's even a poem in there, to blank blank. What kind of a name is blank blank for a girl?
Well, I wouldn't pay too much attention to random old scribbling.
When will you write a poem for me?
I have.
I didn't see one.
It's because I don't call you Virginia in it.
Why not?
Because your name is too sacred for my tired scrawl. That'd be like saying the name of God out loud.
Will you ever publish it?
Perhaps.
May I read it?
If you're a good girl.
What do you call me in it? It was many and many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabelle Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabelle Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. Oh, Eddie. And this is the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabelle Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabelle. Eddie? But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabelle. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in the sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. Eddie? Eddie! No!
Yeah, my lord, 1847. Consumption couldn't call on me again. Carried away that which I love best in the world in the full bloom of her youth. Virginia was 23 years old when she died. And I was left alone with my whiskey, my opium and morphine, and my hatred of what my life had become. Morn, at noon, twilight dim, Maria, thou hast heard my hymn. In joy and woe, for good and ill, Mother of God, be with me still. When the hours flew brightly by, and not a cloud obscured the sky, my soul, lest it should true it be, thy grace did guide to thine and thee. Now that stars of fate o'ercast darkly my present and my past, let my future radiant shine
thee a thine.
Amen.
My future did not radiant shine.
Perhaps the Mother of God wasn't listening. Perhaps she was, and the answer was no. In either case, my life began to carry me like a runaway horse gone mad.
Gone mad.
My, well, what should we call them? Recreations? My recreations began to pose a serious problem.
Drunkard.
Addict.
Shame.
As always, I sought comfort in the fair sex. And as always...
Half again his age.
No, twice his age. 2 different women.
No, 3.
He's been engaged to 2 of them.
A married woman, for the love of heaven. A married woman.
Shocking! Disgraceful!
Outrageous.
Madness!
Sin.
Horror!
Shame.
Shame.
Shame!
Shame.
For pity's sake, leave me in peace!
He's gone mad. 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 Mad.
Silence! 1,000 injuries of fortune I had borne as best I could. But the time came for me to shut society away, to let it die in its way. And me and mine.
Cask of Amontillado. 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as best I could. But when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. You, who so well know the nature of my soul, would not suppose, however, that I would give utterance to a threat. At length I would be avenged. This was a point definitively settled. But the very definitiveness with which it was resolved precluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. It was about dusk one evening, during the supreme madness of the carnival season, when I encountered my friend. The man wore motley and his head was surmounted by a carnival cap and bells. I was so pleased to see him. I thought I should never have done wringing his hand. I said to him, Fortunato! Oh, you are luckily met! And how remarkably well you are looking today. But I have received a pipe of what passes for Amontillado, and I have my doubts.
Amontillado? A pipe? And in the middle of the carnival? Impossible!
I have my doubts, and I was fool enough to pay the full Amontillado price without consulting you in the matter.
Amontillado!
I have my doubts.
Amontillado!
I must satisfy them.
Amontillado.
As you are engaged, I am on my way to Lucchesi. If anyone has a critical turn...
Lucchesi cannot tell the difference between Amontillado and sherry. Come, let us go!
Whither?
Why, to your vaults!
My friend, no. I would not impose upon your good nature. I see you have engagement.
I have no engagement. Come!
My friend, no. It is not the engagement, but the severe cold with which I perceive you are afflicted.
The cold is merely nothing. Amontillado, you have been imposed upon. And as for Lucchesi, he cannot distinguish sherry from Amontillado.
Thus speaking, I allowed Fortunato to possess himself of my arms. Putting on a hood of black velvet, drawing a cloak closely about my person, I suffered him to hurry me to my palazzo. There were no attendants at home. They had absconded to make merry in honor of the times. I took from their sconces 2 flambeaux, and giving one to Fortunato, bowed him through several archways that led to the vaults. He walked down a long, winding staircase. I bid him be cautious as he followed, until at length we came into the foot of our descent, and stood together on the damp grounds of the catacombs of the Montresors. At the most remote end of the crypt, there appeared another, less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human remains, to the vault overhead, in the fashion of the great catacombs of Paris. 3 of the interior walls were still ornamented in this manner. From the 4th, the bones had been thrown down and lay promiscuously about the earth, forming at one point a mound of some size. In an instant, Fortunato had reached the extremity of the niche, and finding his progress arrested, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more, and I had fettered him to the granite. In its surface, the 2 iron staples distant each other about 2 feet horizontally. From one of these depended a short chain, from the other a padlock. It was the work of a few seconds to wrap the chains around his waist. He was too astonished to resist. Withdrawing the key, I stepped back from the recess.
Montressa, you imbecile, what mad jest is this?
I only seek to join you in brotherhood, Fortunato.
The Masons.
Yes.
You, a Mason? Impossible.
A Mason.
Give me a sign.
It is this.
Oh, you jest. Come, enough of this.
How long have you had that cough, Fortunato? Some wine would do it good.
Oh, the Amontillado.
True. The Amontillado. I had scarcely laid the first tier of masonry when I discovered that the intoxication of Fortunato had to a great deal worn off. The first indication I had of this was a low, moaning cry that came from the depths of the recess. It was not the cry of a drunken man. I laid the second tier. And then the third. And the fourth. I heard the furious vibration of the chains. The wall was now nearly to the level of my breast. A succession of loud screams burst from the throat of the chain force. Thrust me sternly and violently back. No! It was now nearly midnight. My work was drawing to a close. I had finished a portion of the last tier. There remained to be a single brick fitted in place. When there came to my ears a low laugh, which erected the hairs on the back of my head. It was followed by a low, sad voice, which I had trouble in recognizing as Fortunato's.
Oh, a very good joke indeed. An excellent jest. We will have many a rich laugh about it at the Palazzo. Over our wine.
The cask of Amontillado.
Yes, the Amontillado. But is it not getting late? They will be awaiting us at the Palazzo. Let us be gone.
Yes. Let us be gone.
Oh, for the love of God, Montressa!
Yes.
For the love of God.
Francis! Henry! Jane! Virginia. There must be an end to this torment. Wait for me on the other side of life. Ever see you again?
Nevermore.
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 Once, upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, as I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door.
There's some visitor.
I muttered.
Tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more.
Distinctly I remember. It was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books to cease from sorrow. Sorrow for the lost love. The rare, radiant baby whom the angels named. The pain was here. The silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. And so, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating,
"'Tis some visitor entreating. Entrance to my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance to my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more.
Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer.
Sir,
said I.
Oh, man, truly, your forgiveness I implore. But the truth is, I was napping, and so faintly you came rapping, so gently you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I'd heard you.
Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wandering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. The stillness wasn't broken. The darkness gave no token. The only word there spoken was the whispered word. No. This I whispered, and the darkness echoed back the word. Back into my chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Suddenly there came a tapping somewhat louder than before.
Surely,
said I.
Surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more.
Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flit and flutter in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not one moment stopped nor stayed he, but with mane of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon the bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, nothing more. Still this ebony bird beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, by the stern and grim decorum of the countenance it wore.
Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou,
I said,
art short no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on this night's Plutonian shore.
Quoth the raven.
Nevermore.
Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculpted bust of Pallas just above his chamber door. With such a name as nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on that pallid bust spoke only that one word, as though its soul in that one word had been outpoured. Nothing further than it uttered. Not one feather more it fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Bird said,
Nevermore.
startled by the silence broken by reply so aptly spoken.
Doubtless,
said I,
what it utters is its only stock and stow. God from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast to tell his song one burden. Tell the dirges of his hope one melancholy burden, Lord, that of nevermore.
Still, the ebony bird beguiling all my fancy into smiling. Straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to link fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking.
Nevermore.
All of this I said guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fiend whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. Listen more, I said divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, and the lamplight floating over. Whose velvet violet lining, the lamplight floating over. She shall press, oh, nevermore. Presently, the air grew denser, perfumed by an unseen censer swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor.
Wretch!
I cried,
My God hath lent thee. By the angels he hath sent thee respite and nepenthe from the memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe.
forget the lost Lenore.
Quoth the raven.
Nevermore.
Prophet, said I, think of evil. Prophet still, if bird or devil, where the tempter sent or where the tempest tossed the hero ashore, desolate yet all undone, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore!
Quoth the raven.
Nevermore.
Prophet, said I, think of evil. Prophet still, if bird or devil, by the heaven beds above us, by the God, we bold the door. Till this soul was sorrowing over the distant eve, which clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore.
Quoth the raven.
Nevermore.
Be that word a sign of parting, bird or fiend!
I shrieked, upstarting.
Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of the lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door.
Quoth the raven.
Nevermore.
Never flitted. Still sitting. Still sitting. Sitting on the bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And its eyes have all the seeming of a demon that is dreaming. The lamplight o'er him streaming casts a shadow on the floor. My soul, about that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted.
Nevermore.
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 Lord, help my poor soul.
Skies, they were ashen and sober. The leaves, they were crisp and sere.
The leaves, they were withering and sere.
It was night in the lonesome October of my most immemorial year.
Edgar Allan Poe was found in a street of Baltimore, unconscious and wearing someone else's clothes.
Take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, this much let me avow. I'm not wrong who deem that all my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away, in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less calm? Everything we see or see is but a dream within a dream.
Poe was carried to a tavern, finally to a hospital where one of the most extraordinary and timeless of all American creative artists died of alcohol poisoning and drug abuse.
Thank you so very much for attending